Alrighty, hello folks, welcome to this webinar this evening. My name is Dan from Organic Digital. Before we get into the training for tonight, just some housekeeping duties. I just want to let you know that you can ask questions in the chat box throughout. I might not keep much of an eye on it, but I do have Jess, who's also in here, will be keeping an eye on things and send through anything that's critical, and she'll be keeping a tally of questions to go through in the Q&A session after the training as well. If I do end up running out of time in the Q&A, or if it's something that I thought would be better answered over email, I've got your registration details, so I'll make sure that I get back to you via email after the session. Also, all of these slides and links and resources, etc., will be emailed to you at the end of this webinar as well. So you have a link to download all of those, and if you haven't already, you also have the option to fill out the worksheet as we go and keep in tally. You can submit them for marking afterwards, and they'll put you through. No, I'm just kidding. I think we do actually have a couple of ex-teachers here or I think might have been earlier in the earlier webinar. We had a couple of ex-teachers on there, but we will get into the real meat of today's webinar. And firstly, I just want to make sure that for the next hour, so this is how long we'll probably go for, about 40 to 45 minutes for the training, about 10 to 15 for the Q&A. We'll just see how we go and how quickly we get through the slides, but I want to make sure that you get enough value out of this training. So you've obviously signed up. I want you to dedicate the next hour to learning and getting something out of this session. So if you've got anything in the background, Facebook notifications, anything that is going to distract you, just close them down for the next hour. If you can, find a quiet spot at home. It is 7 p.m. in Melbourne, so I hope you are making yourself comfortable, maybe with a glass of wine, a beer, or maybe a cuppa, and just take in for the next following hour and follow along with me, because I think you're going to get a lot out of it. I do like to make these webinars as interactive as possible, so I've actually got a poll underneath this video set up, and I'd love for you to submit your vote, and just a yes or no, or are you consistently posting on social media, because it's one of the biggest things that small businesses struggle with, and it's interesting to see if they are, if they aren't, and if so, feel free to let me know in the comments what's stopping you. Often there are a lot of different roadblocks. Time is one of the big ones that I keep on getting thrown at me. Resources, knowledge, tactics, and just knowing where to start as well. So I love to see what challenges you're facing in having a consistent stream of content on your social media, because we're going to be getting into some of those lessons today and trying to overcome some of those roadblocks as well. And I just want to reassure you that you've made the right decision to join this webinar, and to make you feel as comfortable as possible. These are the people that will get the most out of tonight's webinar. So firstly, if you're sick of just getting absolutely nothing back when you say something on social media and that you may be just shouting into an empty hall, you're definitely in the right place. Also, I want to make sure that this is suited to you and what you do. So chances are that you have something to do with the social media in your business, or the social media strategy in your business, and also that you have an online arm to your business as well. And the reason I say that, or even if you're looking to introduce an online arm to your business. So the reason I do say that is because for people to be able to measure the return that they're getting from their social media, it's best done through an online conversion, so they can match both of them. So it's the easiest way to determine whether or not what you're doing on social media is working. But we're going to get into those throughout this session. Firstly, I wanted to let you know to hang around till the end of the webinar, where we're going to be discussing a free bonus offer called the Content Solution 2.0, which is going to teach you how to repurpose your content, make it go the distance, and it's a great way to produce more content than you ever have before. But firstly, I wanted to take you back to when you first started on social media or started your business on social media, and see if this sounded like you. When you first started, you had obviously had a lot of things to say. You were and you could probably tell that in your tone of voice as well, that you were starting, you had energy in your tone of voice and what you were posting on social media. But then gradually, as you ran out of things to say, interest started to fade. The Facebook algorithm kicked in and your reach began to drop. And that's the way that I see a lot of businesses go, because then they start to have these thoughts on what to post next, and they start throwing up roadblocks, like posting content takes time, and does this even suit my business, my target market? And then fear and doubt starts to creep in. Are people still interested in me? They start to say. So it is a process that pretty much anyone that's ever managed social media in their life, it is quite a conundrum. And there are some ways to get through it. And I'm going to be teaching some lessons to help overcome that in today's webinar as well. But first, I wanted to make sure you know where I come from and how I ended up here teaching you today. And I want to tell you a story about a moment that really turned it around for me. And my background is in sports and professional sports, and it's quite as you can see, a tiring role. I made the most of power naps when I could. And there were some absolute highs. I was lucky enough to work for a team that ended up winning the championship here in the professional league in Australia. And so there was some absolute highs, but it was hard work. It was thankless work. And it was pretty brutal. And especially when I first started, it was a bit of a baptism of fire in social media marketing, because if you want to talk to a passionate fan base, try talking to a few 100,000 passionate sports fans. They can be pretty brutal. But there was this moment a few years ago where it sort of turned everything around for me. And I want to tell you a story. It was a day, it was actually this time of year. It was my partner Jess, it was her birthday actually, and her birthday is next Thursday on March 2nd. Make sure I don't forget that. And the team I was working for, they were playing in a trial match, which are basically these matches before the main season kicks off. They're not as serious, and so this match was in a small country town in Victoria, a few hours out of Melbourne. And usually I would be there reporting on the match and telling people what's happening, but I wanted to stay in Melbourne. So I was here in Melbourne. We were celebrating Jess's birthday at our place. We had friends and we had family there. And this match in this small country town, unfortunately, because it wasn't broadcast on TV, the only stream of commentary I could get was from a local radio station. So while everyone else was celebrating Jess's birthday and they were having a few drinks and a few laughs, I was that weirdo that was sitting in the corner with one earbud in and Twitter open and trying to make sense of this radio commentary from country Victoria to keep the sports fans updated. And at one point, during the game, someone at home actually yelled out to me, and I was that entrenched in what I was doing that I didn't pay any attention. I didn't even hear them, and took a couple of times until they kept yelling, "Dan, Dan!" And I looked up and paid attention, and I realised that everyone else had kind of stopped what they were doing and was looking at me like a bit of an alien, going, "What the hell are you doing?" And while they had a bit of a laugh at my expense, it kind of hit home for me in that I thought there's got to be a better way to do this. And because I was so passionate about and dedicated to something that I was interested in, but it wasn't my own. And at that moment, I thought I want to be able to put this passion into something that I can own and that I can dedicate and I can help more people with. So not long after that, actually, I ended up leaving the sports industry and I kicked around in the corporate industry and a couple of agencies and branched out into some other areas to use my expertise. And eventually I had enough clients of my own to make the decision to go out on my own. And when I kept on going around to small businesses and small to medium businesses who I'm passionate about and who I help, I kept on getting this same roadblock. And it was, Dan, where do I find the time? And I kept on getting it. Whenever I would go out there and try to educate people, it was time was the biggest thing, and it was frustrating. But I completely understand that time is just something that is so valuable to people, and it is a commodity. And so I became obsessed with finding a solution and trying to teach people on how they can better use their time to get results on social media. And now I've been lucky enough that it's resulted in me teaching a number of businesses around the country and around the world. And the life that I now live is a much more passionate one that aligns with my values. I'm no longer catching power naps as often as I used to. I'm a very big animal lover. That's we do foster dogs for a volunteer dog group. We actually also have a couple of cats because we rent, so we're going to have a couple of cats. That is the infamous Pudding and Blue, of course, because I obviously work in social media. Naturally, they have their own social media profiles. That's only standard for your cats, I guess. Is it just me? Maybe. But I'm lucky enough to be able to teach people and live that lifestyle that I guess I wanted that moment a few years ago when I was sitting there commentating on Twitter to the sports team a few hours away. And so I ended up creating what I call the complete content system. And that's what I'm going to be covering today. And it focuses on two main areas. The first one is where to look for content from around the web. And secondly, how to make the most of it with the right tools. And firstly, before we actually get into the nitty-gritty, I just want to clarify what content is, because it is a buzzword, and I mention it all the time, and sometimes I just need to actually clarify before I get too far down the track. Basically, it's really simple. It's anything that your customers consume about your business. So there's a formal definition there, but just remember, if it's online and your customers can see it, then it's content. It's pretty simple. Now, the reason why find the right content is important is because there is a lot of it produced each day. All around the world, there are over 2.7 million blog posts published. Just on YouTube alone, there's 1.3 million videos uploaded. And it's probably more than this on Facebook now. It's probably tipped over the 1 billion mark, but there is a lot of content uploaded by its user base. And the great thing is that there is lots of it, but we need to know what is right for our customers and how we can make sure it's quality. And today, that's why we're going to be focusing on content specifically produced by others from around the web. So I will talk about content that you produce in a special bonus at the end, but for today's purpose, we will be focusing on content produced by others from around the web. And repurposing and re-promoting content from around the web has a number of benefits. These are the main three, and the biggest one is trust. And that's what we're all trying to do with our customers, whether we're marketing on social media or anywhere that we're communicating with our customers. We're trying to gain that trust and build a closer relationship with them. And the next big one is you position yourself as an authority. So you become that go-to that people know that you're going to be posting relevant information. And then lastly, and this is becoming more and more important every day, is that you put in the customer first, and they know that they're not going to be sold to all the time. And when they see a post from you, they know it's going to be relevant and it's going to be for money for them. Sorry. But obviously the elephant in the room that I know you're thinking is, if I'm promoting other content from around the web, how do I drive traffic back to my site? And well, the good news is that I have a bonus tool that I'll be talking about in the tools section that has increased traffic by more than 50% to my website. So I want to get into the nitty-gritty and exactly where we're going to find new content. And these are the 5 sites that we'll be focusing on, the 5 areas we'll be focusing on. And the reason that these sites work, well, there's 4 main reasons. The one is that they're easy to use and they're simple to use, and yeah, they're very easy to be able to navigate. Second, they do have quality results, and that's important, especially with the amount of content that they are showing you the most quality results. They can be automated, which is awesome, because then you don't have to remember to consistently check them, and it's just something that gets done. And of course, once you automate things, that can save you a lot of time as well. And so I want to get into these tools and go into a little bit more detail. I'm going to show you them in action as well. And the first one that I want to talk about is called BuzzSumo. It's at buzzsumo.com. And basically BuzzSumo, I really love this tool, and it's probably the first go-to when I'm looking for new content. So what it basically does is it provides its results are only content-based results, so they're not just pages, and it's similar to Google, but rather than using Google's algorithm and search engine optimization, etc., it actually uses the amount of social media shares that something has to determine the rankings and results. And you can search any term, broad terms, specific terms, and everything in between. I actually want to show you what it looks like. So over here on the home page, I've typed in a search term. We had a couple of people register that are in the men's style industry. So I've just typed this search term, and the results here are a number of different results. And as you can see, according to the total shares. And they break them down by social media channel as well. And then the great thing, you can also filter as well. By recency, country, and then one that I like to filter by is a content type, if you're looking for a specific type of content to be able to post on social media. So that's BuzzSumo. It is very powerful. It's a go-to for the first place that I look for content. It uses what they call a freemium model. So you get a certain amount of results until they ask you to upgrade, but there's quite a number of results in there. It just doesn't show you past, I think it's about 10 results after that. So it's like the first page of Google. The other little tip that I'll give with BuzzSumo is that you can actually search specific URLs. So you can type your own website URL in there, or you can also search competitors or major industry publications, and you type that in the search box, and then it will show the most shared content for that domain name. So it's really interesting, especially if you're looking for what content is popular out there and doing some content research. You can use that domain to be able to find what people are sharing, and they basically do the work for you to tell you what's going to work and what content you could potentially publish next. All right, let's get into the next one, which is called Nuzzle. It's spelled E-L, not L-E as well. It's at nuzzle.com, and this connects to Twitter. So you do need to have a Twitter account. A lot of people might be saying, well, I don't use Twitter, or I don't use Twitter as much as I used to, and that's completely fine. Look, Twitter, I think, still has a role at the moment in social media marketing, but the biggest thing that it can provide is really specific results, and their advanced search functionality is really good. And there still is a lot of content on Twitter, just because people, its growth has stalled and people aren't using it as much as they used to, doesn't mean that people aren't posting to it as much as they once were. So basically what Nuzzle does is I connect it with Twitter, and then it sends me a daily digest directly to my email. So I never actually go through to the Nuzzle website. I automatically get an email in the morning that tells me the most popular stories from the past 24 hours, according to the people that I follow on Twitter, and what they've interacted with as well. And so it helps with FOMO, or fear of missing out, which I suffer badly from. So you don't always have to be going into Twitter and checking what people are saying. It can come automatically to your inbox. And the great thing is that it actually learns the stories that you start to click on. So going back to my sports days, Nuzzle used to send me a lot of sports-related stories and a lot of sports tech stories, but now it's very much social media and digital media marketing, a little bit of small business as well. So it learns what's popular and what you find popular and what you're clicking in the daily digest as well. I'll quickly show you what it looks like, but like I said, I don't tend to go through to this site anymore because I get the daily email that comes straight through. And so this is the most recent stories is updated 12 minutes ago, and it shows you who's shared them as well, and the different results as well. But once it's set up once, it is done. You just set and forget and read the daily email of the stories that come through. like I said, it keeps you in the loop with a daily digest, and it actually makes you keep Twitter relevant because you know that there's some good stories coming through from there, and everything that I'm reading on other channels is still coming through on the daily digest from Twitter as well. So that just tells me that there's still people publishing a lot of content out there. All right, give me 1 second while I grab a quick drink, and then we'll get into number 3, which is the groups and forums. Alrighty, so groups and forums, and I have, excuse the pun, grouped these together. So we're talking about Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, Reddit if your customer base is on there. So it's a little bit different, a slightly different tact than the first couple of websites. And because with groups and who you're sharing the groups with, often they might actually be other businesses in your industry. And you can look at them as competitors, not wanting information share with them. But I think, I guess that ethos has slightly changed over time, and people are starting to look at the bigger picture, and it's actually more worthwhile for them to be information and content sharing with other businesses, as there might be a future potential partner down the track, and other experts will help you upskill as well. And I never like stop learning, and so I really participate in a lot of the Facebook and LinkedIn groups and share resources. I learn from experts. Another tactic that you can use with groups is joining topics that are broadly based, and they might actually include your target market in them. So what you can actually do is you can post in there to get any feedback on potential ideas that you've had. So before you get too far down the track of developing a new product or a new service. So for instance, nailing for yourself for a vegan food stall in the food industry. Obviously, there's a lot of vegan groups on Facebook in Melbourne, so you could test any potential new products or new services and run it by a passionate group of people, over thousands of people that are members of these Facebook groups, and see whether or not your new ideas fly with that audience as well. So the biggest thing I can say when you go into these groups is give some value to the rest of the members before you ask for anything back, because the best way to get help is to give help. And the likelihood of, if you go in there with the intent of just promote, not only will you probably not get any feedback and it'll rub people the wrong way, the admins of the group will probably end up deleting you or blocking you anyway. So just make sure that you go in there with the intent to help people as much as you can. All right, so we are on to number 4. We're flying through these. So the next one also connects to Twitter as well. It's a slightly different tact from Twitter, though. It's called TweetDeck. It's actually owned by Twitter. It's at tweetdeck.twitter.com, or I think tweetdeck.com also works as well. Basically, what TweetDeck does is it uses a number of different columns that you set up that dictate what tweets appear in it. So before, when I mentioned the advanced search on Twitter, it allows you to tap into that by setting up advanced search and then just delivering the right content into TweetDeck. And the great thing about it is that it just cleans out all of the noise in there and just gives you the most relevant tweets from Twitter. And I'll show you what it looks like in a sec. You can also set up columns based on tweets from a particular user as well. So you can see what competitors or Twitter lists, if there are a list of different members of that list tweeting about as well. So this is what TweetDeck looks like. Beautiful. So I have a number of different searches set up across here, just not only for myself to be able to schedule tweets in my home feed, but we had a yoga studio register for the webinar, so I've actually just set up a yoga search here as well. And as you can see, you can filter by, you can just have broad search terms, but you can then filter by the type. So if I was looking for new content, I would look for tweets with just links. So at least I know there's a link through to a website. Might be a relevant news story or article that I could repost. I can remove words, any dates, and then I can also filtered by location as well. So this was a Melbourne yoga studio. So if people are tweeting about yoga in Melbourne, they're going to come through here. And the great thing that TweetDeck also isn't affected by the Twitter algorithm as well. So it's in chronological order. So, you're not going to miss out on anything, and it's not going to reorder those tweets for you. So it is free. The TweetDeck only works on a desktop only, so it's actually probably a little bit better experience. So I'm not sure whether it worked too well on a mobile version, but I just make it a habit to log in and just check what people are saying, and then I'll show you how you can use it as a tool for scheduling later on. But it is completely free for you to join up. So that is number 4. We're now on to number 5, which is lucky last is Buffer Feeds. Now, Buffer Feed sits inside the social media scheduling tool called Buffer. And you might have used Buffer before, you might have heard about it. So you do need an account, but signing up doesn't cost just to do the scheduling side of things, so to be able to publish to social media. But this feature I'm going to show you does. So I want to be completely upfront with that. I think it's about $10 per month. But after you see this feature, it might be well worth it because the time it gives you back is amazing. So basically what it does is it automatically brings in any new blog posts or stories from any site you tell it to. And the great thing about it is it keeps you up to date. It's all there for you straight away. Because it ties directly into Buffer's main tool as well, it's really easy and helps you stay consistent to quickly schedule across multiple channels. So how it does it is via RSS feeds, and I'll show you what it looks like in Buffer. So I have, it's called a content inbox in Buffer, but basically you set up they've always been called an RSS feed, and that's actually pretty old school. RSS feeds used to be really popular, but they don't use them as much, but they still actually exist for websites, believe it or not. So if you go to any website basically, and generally if you type /feed, for instance, if you go to organicdigital.com.au/feed, it'll come up with a whole page of letters and numbers that looks like it's very convoluted, but basically the RSS reader can read the content within that feed, and it will automatically deliver any new stories that are published in here for me. And so I've set up a few of them from reputable websites that I follow and that I know that also publish quality content as well. And then I can quickly hit the add button and I can schedule it very easily across multiple channels straight away. I can schedule it to whenever I want, add it to the queue. So Buffer Feeds is really powerful, particularly if you're searching around the web and finding some sites you keep on coming across, and sticking them in Buffer Feeds is a great tactic. So again, it is the paid version. They do have, that was obviously the desktop site you saw, but they do have an app that you can schedule things on the go as well. So really easy to find quality stories and quickly and easily post them. Alrighty, so that is the 5 sites that I use to find content. These are the ones that are my go-tos, and they will well and truly have enough content in your industry to be able to find and post around the web. This is just a quick recap and a comparison of the 5 as well, and how you can use them in the best manner possible. So there's plenty of content out there for you, but I know now you're probably thinking, well, now what? So I know you've got some more questions, and I'd like to get into them. So questions like, where do I start? Where do I find the time, Dan? What tools can I use? And where is that bonus tool that you mentioned before that drove all the traffic back to your site? Well, I want to deal with those questions now. So firstly, a really important one is, where do I start? And look, you've just taken in a lot of information from a number of different websites there. So the best place to start is just to focus on a couple of them. Just test a couple of the sites to find where you get the most value, and then gradually introduce more avenues to get better content and more content. So like I said with Buffer, when you set up the Nuzzle and BuzzSumo, you might see a number of websites continuously come up in the rankings and in the results. So then you can assume that if they're publishing good content all the time, then you could take their Buffer, their feed, their RSS feed, and then you can put it into Buffer feeds and use them as a site that you would always look at every news story that they publish. So just be wary of trying to find too much content and then not being sure what to do with it. Just gradually start to have a look at these websites. And the great thing is that as soon as you hop off tonight, you can put these lessons straight into action. Another big one is, how do I find the time? And look, it's a really hard question for me to answer. All I can do, though, is try to give you back as much time as possible. So automating is one of the big things that I do in social media, and I'll talk about scheduling as well. It'll also save you more time. But use the built-in features that these sites have. So Nuzzle, just sign up for their daily digest. Sign up for the Buffer feeds, and then you only need to check them occasionally. Same with BuzzSumo as well. If you want to upgrade to their paid version, they also have alerts and they have exports as well. But automate as much as you can to make it as easy as possible on yourself as well. And then also to save more time and what tools you can use, well, you should be scheduling. You need to get comfortable with scheduling. Particularly for your business. In a small to medium-sized business, you need to be comfortable with the fact that you will need to schedule content out ahead of time. And there is nothing wrong with that. You just need to set aside time to schedule across multiple channels. And not only does it save you time, it actually gives you this really good feeling if you say, for instance, set time at the start of the week, which I think is always the best time to do to schedule out content for the week coming up. There's this sense of accomplishment, and you almost feel a little bit more relaxed knowing that social media content's just going to be posted throughout the week, and you can actually get on with your life, get on with your business. It's not nagging in the back of your head. And then when people are commenting back, then you can actually instead focus on engaging and building that relationship, as opposed to always thinking about what you've got to post next. It's just going to go there, and then you can react to it, and you've got that extra time. So obviously with scheduling is going to save you a lot of time. And I want to go through the tools that I use to help you schedule as well. These are my 3 go-to tools that deal with different budgets, different resources as well. And you've actually already heard of a couple of them. The first one is Buffer. And look, there are a number of different social media scheduling tools out there that do multiple channels. I like Buffer just because of the interface. I like the Buffer feeds aspect of it. I also like that they allow you to schedule across all channels, including Instagram as well, which is one that's often left out. Instagram, though, you still have to do the manual posting process. Don't use an automated program. That's a whole nother discussion. But you can easily schedule, and they have both a desktop and the mobile app, as well as a Google Chrome extension as well. But if you haven't used Buffer before, it's free for, I think it's one profile on about 4 different social media channels. So if you just want to test the waters and sign up and see whether it's for you, Buffer is simple, quick, easy to sign up to, and a great way to shave some hours off your scheduling process, or your posting process throughout the week. The next one is TweetDeck. So we're going back to TweetDeck again, but instead of, you've obviously got the management, the monitoring aspect of it there, and the search parts of TweetDeck, but it's also actually a really good scheduling program as well. So it's obviously just to Twitter, so you need to be on Twitter, and if you want to make the most of Twitter. But what I actually do with TweetDeck is I'm not actually scheduling promoted like links to stories, etc. out there. When I go into TweetDeck and I look at the tweets, I'm scheduling replies, I'm scheduling retweets. So if I use it as more of an engagement mechanism than anything else. So when you're in there, because you've cleaned up that Twitter feed and you've just got the relevant tweets too, it's quickly and easily to like tweets, retweet them, reply to them, quote retweet. It's great because it lets people know that you're listening and that you're there. And if you're monitoring any particular trends or discussions, then you know that you've got everything that people are saying about it there as well. So that is another free tool that's just for Twitter. And then if you want the granddaddy of them all and you want to upgrade to a really powerful tool, my go-to is CoSchedule. And basically what CoSchedule does, it's a full solution that combines the content that you're producing as well as content from around the web as well. And they use what they call templates, which in a couple of clicks, I'm scheduling content out over the next 6 months. So it gives you an extended promotion. Their ethos is that you need to get the most legwork out of content as possible. And because with their templated, they're re-promoting content across social media, it allows you to do that. But the best thing about it is they've got a calendar there so you can see what's coming up and what's been scheduled. But that starts to quickly fill up when you're posting more often and when you're scheduling these posts out over time. Because you're promoting them more than once, you'll quickly see that social media posting calendar start to fill up. So it's a really quick and easy tool to be able to use if you want to save yourself a hell of a lot of time. I think subscriptions start from about $15 US per month. They come with a 30-day trial. So highly recommend at least getting in there and having a look, connecting it connects through to WordPress, or you can just use it as a publishing platform as well. But it's really fascinating, gives you some good insights as well. Alrighty, and the last of my 3+ bonus tools is the tool that I promised. And that bonus tool is called snip.ly or snip.ly. This is a really fascinating tool. And when I show this to people, they're like, how does that even work? And how is it even free? And I know it sounds too good to be true, but basically what it does is it lets you put a link on any sites around the web. So not just your own, and you don't need to pay for it. And this tool's free as well. They have a freemium, sorry, I should put an asterisk on it. They do have a freemium aspect where they've got their branding on it and you've got up to a certain amount of clicks per month. But if you're getting 1,000 clicks through to your website per month, then you're probably generating enough traffic that you can justify upgrading to their first subscription anyway. And the best thing about it is that you stay relevant to those people when you're promoting other people's content and they're going through and they're consuming it and they're watching it and they're reading it. There's a little call to action that sits on their website, and you're reminding people that you are the person that posted that social media post. You were the person that showed them that valuable story that they've just consumed. And I want to show you exactly what it looks like because, like I said, some people don't actually believe me it can actually work. So this is the back end of Snip.ly. Again, you've only got to set up the Snip.ly once. So I have a few call to actions, and they drive to different areas of my website. Doesn't have to be your website either. It could be, driving to your social media. Come and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, like us on Facebook, etc. But what it does is they have ties in with your Facebook, as well as they have a Google Chrome extension. So when I have a new story that I want to promote, I put this through the Snip.ly generator, and then it gives me a longer link. So it's got this little Snip.ly URL before that, and then it's got the rest of the URL. And as you can see down here, this is on Social Media Examiner, one of the biggest social media websites around the world. And I've got my little call to action down here when people click through and they read that and I say, want more social media blogs? Read more here. I've got a few other ones that focus around particular topics. They drive to different areas of my website. But you can do it across any website you like. Some people do have ad blockers, etc. Installed. but very few have a blocker for Snipply. So that's a freemium model there as well. So it's just got that little bit of branding. But there are different types of calls to action as well. There's banners, there's a whole heap of other ones as well. So that is snip.ly, snip.ly, however you would like to pronounce that. All right, so they are my 3 tools, and now I want to revisit the slide from earlier where we said what we were going to learn throughout this webinar. So first of all, we spoke about where we're going to look for new content from around the web, and we showed the 5 sites that we were going to do that, and then show you how to make the most of it with the right tools. And we went through my 3 tools plus Snipply as well. So like I said, I like to make sure that people interacting with these webinars as much as possible, and I also want to help you stay accountable. So if you're ready to take action, and if you're ready to implement some of these actionable insights you've learned throughout this webinar, I'd love for you to type yes in the comments. Remember that what I've shown you here today isn't anything extra special. I don't have access to anything that you don't have as well. I'm just knowledgeable. I know how to use them. I've used them before. I've got results for them, and I know how to implement them into a system that works. And just remember that this is your time we're talking about. So you've obviously signed up for this webinar. You've dedicated an hour of your time to learn where you can find some content from around the web. So I'd love to be able to help you keep you accountable. And that's one of the hardest things that people find, is going and actually putting these lessons into action. So if you're going to go and do that after you hop off this webinar, type yes, and if you do, then I'm going to go and check your social media over the weekend, and I'll give you to the end of the weekend to post some content from around the web. Otherwise, you'll hear from me. But I would really love to help you put it into practice. So I want to get into why you showed up today as well, and the reasons why you were interested in this topic. And if I could take a guess, I'm assuming that you've probably tried some different tactics on social media that haven't worked before. You're all about saving time and how you can be smarter, and about how you can perform tasks in your business. I mean, you're here learning, so that's a given, right? And you also want to make sure that you're posting content that gets a response. And the obvious question is, well, how do I take this content and these lessons and post it as effective as possible? And the key is having a social media plan that suits your business, your customer, and the results that you want to get as well. And there are a couple of ways that you can attack this. Option 1 is pretty common, actually, much more common than you'd think, and people just put up stuff and see what works. They might find a nice little niche that gets a reaction from their customers. Sometimes they don't, often they don't, but they don't know how to then turn that engagement into a return on investment. This option is very frustrating, and because you don't have anything that is driving your decisions, you're flying blind, and it often takes a lot more time, and it is a lot more work, obviously, as well. And then there's obviously option 2, and that's the strategic way that takes a look at the who, the where, and the why for your business. And so you can actually plan and measure results. And, well, of course, you know exactly which one I'm going to suggest, which is why I want to introduce you to the Social Media Accelerator. This is our flagship course that helps you take a strategic approach to help save you time and manage your social media in just 20 minutes a day. I want to tell you a little bit more about this program. It is a complete blueprint to creating and delivering high-value social media content that gives you clarity for your social media and your business, gets a response from your customers, and it delivers the right business results for you. So the Social Media Accelerator, it includes 7 modules plus 2 bonus extra modules as well. There's over 3 hours of video training there for you to consume. It includes worksheets to complete throughout and to keep you accountable as well. And the thing with this training that's different is that I actually show you what to do, not tell you what to do. And there is a big difference. And that's why there is a lot of video content in there, because it's actually me physically going and performing the things that I'm teaching. So I want to quickly explain how I've broken down the process and how each of the lessons are broken down as well. And the first one where we start is defining your audience and who you're actually going to talk to and how you're going to talk to them. And this is the first step, obviously, in any marketing strategy, not just social media. The next part that we go into is defining your purpose and the why. And this is really important because it's actually going to dictate why you're on social media and what you want to get from it as well. And then using the lessons, the results will come out of those first two lessons will then help us make decisions on how we can choose the right channels. And I don't subscribe to that ethos of be everywhere, because as a small business, we just don't have the time to do that. So we want to make sure that you're actually online in the right places. And then from lesson 4 onwards, we get into the real nitty gritty and we start to talk about where to find the content. Sounds a bit familiar, but we do a bit further of a deep dive throughout this lesson as well, and we go searching for content as well. And then in lesson 5, we do a much more in-depth analysis on the right tools for you and how you can use them and how to get the most of them and make sure that they're right for you, that they cater to your budget as well. So we have options for free, small paid, as well as the Big Daddy as well. So all budgets, including ones that have 0. The last lesson, and this is the granddaddy of them all, this is where I break down a working week basically to set up and manage social media and how I've got the process down into 20 minutes a day. So you actually follow along with me. It's a true day in the life. And you see how I get into a weekly routine and how I make the most of every minute and how I break down that week so I get the best results. We've also got a couple of bonus lessons in there as well. One is on Facebook advertising, because I truly believe that you need to integrate that into your social media as well. But this lesson focuses on more about how to craft a campaign before you actually go and spend any money. And then I also do a little bit more detail on how you can make the most of Sniply, which you've obviously already heard about throughout this webinar as well. So a full summary of the course and what is included in your purchase. You get all lessons in a downloadable format, which includes audio files so you can take them with you and learn on the go. Also includes worksheets for every lesson as well, and tasks at the end of each lesson, so you're keeping accountable and you're progressing through what you're learning as well. We also have a supportive private Facebook group where other people that are taking the course at the same time are in there, and I jump into that Facebook group and I do live Q&A sessions, so you can get real-time support, you get access to me, and any questions and support that you need you can ask throughout those Q&A sessions as well. I also have emails that will be consistently going out to you to give you support and push you through to completing, because that's a big thing for me, that I actually want you to complete this course. It's no good for either of us if you don't, and I truly believe you'll get something out of it at the end, which is what you're going to create is this unique advantage in your business. By using a strategic approach to it, you're going to get the best content that actually hooks and get a response from your followers. We'll go into the tools that shave hours off your week. Speaking of time, did you know that Social Media Examiner, so that website that I had earlier, they did a study in 2016 of over 3,000 marketers, and 63% of them said that they spend over 6 hours per week on social media. So my formula takes 20 minutes each day, and just working days, so 5 days a week, so it's 100 minutes a week, which is less than a third to that. So you will also create generate an insatiable desire from your followers to engage with you, and how you can work social media into a daily routine so you can be consistent and you can measure the results. And of course, earlier I spoke about the Fast Action Bonus, which is the Content Solution 2.0. The Content Solution, you may have actually seen it as a free download, but by popular demand, I've actually taken that download and I've put it into a series of how-to videos and extra resources. The basis of the formula is that it takes a main piece of content and then repurposes it, reshapes it, and repurposes it to make it go the extra mile. and I do this consistently now, and I put this system into all of the posts that I produce, and I compared it to the time that it used to take me to write a lengthy blog post, an in detail one, and I'm actually saving time and getting much better results, ironically enough. It doesn't require any fancy tools, and I fill up my social media calendar for the next 2 weeks with it, and I post a fair bit, so you've got plenty of content by using this solution. The catch is, though, with the Content Solution 2.0 that you need to order by the end of this webinar, which your next question is obviously, what's the investment? And before we get into that, I want you to think of it this way, and how it often goes for a lot of businesses is that you could hire someone to come up with a strategy for you and then manage it. But often these strategies are done from an external point of view. They tell you how to do them without actually showing you. They don't understand your business. And as a business owner, I mean, I'm a business owner, and you feel so much more comfortable when you actually have control over your business and you have knowledge on exactly what results you're going to receive. So with that in mind, the total price of the Social Media Accelerator course is $179, once off, no more to pay. And you get lifetime access to it as well. So if you are interested in joining and getting the Content Solution 2.0, you can head to this URL here, organicdigital.com.au/join, where you can sign up. You will be shown this order form here. Once you click through, there's actually also an optional upgrade where you can get the whole course on your own USB. You can take it with you and you can learn offline. I'll send that to your registered mail worldwide as well. That's an optional $29 add-on. We also offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can trial them and test it. If you're not happy with it and you're not happy with the results, happy to refund your purchase. And if you've got any questions on the one on this webinar, but also on how to order, here are some links here. organicdigital.com.au/chat opens up a Facebook Messenger discussion with me. I'm happy to answer any questions there as well. That is email address if you're having any troubles, or feel free to give us a call on my phone number here, or I'm at Skype here as well. So with that in mind, I want to get into the Q&A session as well. I'm just going to turn on the offer down. So if you're looking for the link as well, it's actually one sitting underneath the webinar right now. So that is how to find and produce content from around the web to generate a raving fan base on social media. I'm going to open up the floor to any questions in the chat box that you've got there as well. Pardon me, I've actually got a couple of questions that were submitted beforehand. I'm going to answer that just after I have a quick drink, because you can tell my voice is cracking. All right, let's get into some questions. One of the most common ones on the type of content, rather. So what is the best type of content? And the best type of content is something that your customer base reacts to. And I know that's not really an answer, but look, video is hot right now because people are consuming a lot of it, but sometimes we don't have access to all the videos as well. So sometimes you'll need to use other different forms of content out there as well. But I recommend just testing a lot of different types of images, links to audio, presentations, and see what your audience reacts to. That's probably the best advice I can give you there as well. Another common question that we get is, what if there isn't too much content in my industry, or my business is boring? And I actually like this question, and I'm glad that this got asked, because I did this beforehand, where if I want to show you a couple of examples of boring industries. So I'll have so an example of a boring industry and someone that doesn't have a lot of content. If you're thinking of probably the most boring of boring, local councils are one of the worst. The amount of red tape and government organisations. So this is an example of a local council over in WA, just out of Perth. They're about an hour and a half north of Perth. There's about 2,500 people, I think, population in there. And they posted this video at the end of last year. It was drone footage of something that we probably take for granted, of how a road is built. It was just like, have you ever seen how a road is bitumenized? And it's kind of really intriguing because you drive every day and you never really think how they're actually started and built. And because this is literally in the middle of the outback, it was about a 3.5 minute video. And so as you're watching, obviously someone comes along at TARS, and then these dudes come along and they put some rocks down, and then they roll them and it's done. It seems so simple, but it went absolutely nuts. And I'm sure you can see that number just underneath. It might be a little bit blurred out, but 16M, so 16 million views. It went worldwide and people went absolutely crazy for it. They loved it. And this is a good example of how you can put something so simple and you think, no one will watch that. You underestimate what people will actually be interested in, and what your business does. Another good example is a guy who I found myself mesmerized last week, actually. So this is a guy making pottery, and he does these Facebook Live events, and they go for like over 2 hours, and he spins about 20 or 30 odd jars in there, and he's obviously very talented at it. And because you never really see it, again, it's really interesting. But down here, this is his Facebook Live video. There we go. This is done on there. 487,000 views. Something. So he literally just sits here, sets up his phone and just streams live for a couple of hours, and he gets hundreds of thousands of views throughout, and he's become world renowned, and he's obviously selling a lot of pottery as well. So there's a couple of examples of industries that are so-called, in inverted commas, boring. And I know that sometimes people have said that there's not enough content in their industry. So there's some examples of that have really bucked the trend. Another question that we always get as well is, how often should I be posting on social media? And obviously with these resources that we've mentioned here, and the resources that we go through in the course as well, will help you set up a routine. And basically we try and post as much as you can, as long as you've got enough time for it. So as much as time will let us, but we always make sure that we're posting at least every day. So even if we're scheduling as well. And the reason I say that is because the reason apps like Snapchat and Instagram Stories feature, because they're the reason they're popular is because it is an honest recount of something that has happened in the past 24 hours. So whether we like it or not, we just need to stay relevant. And look, I'll be honest as well, the more that you post, the faster your results will come and the faster your followers will grow. But I'm aware that you need to balance that with the resources that you have available, and also making sure that they're the right results as well. So as long as we're posting consistently, and that's the biggest thing that you can find. Take, for instance, examples of Instagram accounts that have gone nuts. Founder Magazine from Instagram, I think he's probably just tipped over the 1 million follower mark, but he posts consistently, and he posts every couple of hours on Instagram. And he uses a couple of other tools that have helped grow his following, and he has grown quickly. But he posts a lot, and he has a whole team behind him that helps him post a lot. So as long as you're doing it consistently, don't expect 1 million followers, but expect a steady growth, and to grow a more of a closer relationship with your followers as well. And I think for small businesses that are looking to grow followings like that too quickly, can actually be somewhat detrimental sometimes, and they need to take things with a more of a strategic approach. So we go through the routine throughout the course as well, and how you can work that into the course as well. As far as the course goes, if you've got any questions about that, more than happy to answer any questions around that. The 30-day guarantee is in there as well, so you're more than welcome to come and try. If you having any problems or got any questions, just send us an email at support@organicdigital.com.au about the money back guarantee. If you're not sure whether the program is right for you, basically it suits any social media marketer that needs to follow actionable steps. That's a big thing about any of the training that I teach, and as you've seen for the past hour, that the steps that I teach, I put into action straight away, and I show you how they're actually done as well. Another big question, probably actually one of the more common questions I get on the course, is how long does it take? And that's completely up to you. Like I said, you have lifetime access, so the once-off payment gives you lifetime access. Each lesson itself goes between, some go for 10 minutes, some go for 20 to 30 minutes. And look, if you're taking one lesson a week, it would take about 6 weeks to complete. But I think you could do it much faster than that. You could do it over a weekend if you wanted. But I generally, as long as you're doing it consistently, and that's a big thing as well, you're just making sure that you're actually completing it. I'm going to be able to help you do that as well. You don't need to complete it by a specific date either. So like I said, you've got lifetime access, so complete at any stage, but we're going to be sending you emails, and we can track to see how you're going. So we know where people have some sticking points sometimes and how we can help people get through them as well. And as far as the course goes, there's obviously the once-off payment for it, and people say, do I need to purchase anything else throughout the course? No. Like I said, during the tools that I provide, options for free and for paid versions. So there's no pressure to go and purchase them. Makes no difference to us whether you use the free or the paid versions or not. So I made sure I cater to all different budgets as well. As far as registrations and the cutoff goes as well, so we're only going to be intermittently opening registrations for this course, and we're actually going to close them again next week. We're not quite sure when we're going to open it again as well. But we're counting down to the end of this webinar and to the content solution offer running out as well. Has anyone got any questions that would like to run by me? By all means, if you prefer to have a chat offline, you can always send us an email. No problems, no. Thanks so much for coming along. Appreciate you giving me your time this evening. We'll send a follow-up email as well with all the links to the slides and the resources as well, so you can run through, or if you've got any questions about them. We'd love to have you on board. But I think that's about it, unless there are any last minute questions. I'll give you a last little countdown. I think I'll actually probably just hang around here until this hits 0 anyway. So we just ticked over the hour mark, so that was nicely timed as well. Thanks so much again, guys, for giving up your time. I know that your time is precious. I know that more than anything. So I really appreciate you, and congratulations as well on making the decision to sit down and actually learn some more around social media. I'm sure you did get a lot out of it. And I'd really like to see you implement some of these lessons as well. And if you do and you get results, come back and tell me. I'd love to see how you're going. I'd love to stay in touch and see how everything's going as far as social media and finding content from around the web. It's just about finding the right content, posting it consistently, and get a response. I'll hang around online if anyone would like to chat at all. Otherwise, I'll say my goodbyes for now. Enjoy the rest of your evening or day, wherever you are around the world. Thanks so much. We'll chat to you again soon.